June 16th, 2016. Guys, the Homeland, June 16th, 2016. Guys, you're looking at a bulletin that was issued 6/15/2016 by the National Terrorism Advisory System, and this is part of the Department of Homeland Security, so I guess it's okay for us public servants to see this. It's a summary. In December, we described a new phase in the global threat environment, which has implications on the homeland. This basic assessment has not changed. In this environment, we are particularly concerned about homegrown violent extremists who could strike with little or no notice. The tragic event of Orlando several days ago reinforced this. Accordingly, increased public vigilance and awareness continue to be of utmost importance. This bulletin has a 5-month duration and will expire just before the holiday season. We will reassess the threats of terrorism at that time. Now, read between the words. When it says 5 months, it will expire just before the holiday season, which, look right here, the bulletin will expire November 15th, 2016 at 1 minute before midnight. They could have said this will expire a week and a half or 2 weeks after the election, if you wanted to be more accurate. Let's look at some of the additional details. Since issuing the first bulletin in December, our concerns that violent extremists could be inspired to conduct attacks inside the U.S. It has not diminished, though we know of no intelligence that is both specific and credible at this time of a plot by terrorist organizations to attack the homeland. The reality is terrorist-inspired individuals have conducted or attempted to conduct attacks in the U.S. DHS is especially concerned that terrorist-inspired individuals and homegrown violent extremists may be encouraged or inspired to target public events like conventions or places. They said they saw the attacks in San Bernardino, Paris, Brussels, and most recently Orlando. Terrorists will consider a diverse and wide selection of targets for attack. They'll use of the internet to inspire individuals to violence or join their ranks remains a major concern. Watch out for your internet. In the current environment, DHS is also concerned about threats and violence directed at particular communities, and individuals across the country based on perceived religion, ethnicity, nationality, or sexual orientation. Christians, we have no rights left. U.S. government counterterrorism efforts. DHS and the FBI continue to provide guidance to state and local partners on increased security measures. Guys, I've got to stop right here and point out a couple things. How can we help? Report suspicious activity to local law enforcement or public safety officials who are best positioned to respond or offer specific details on terroristic indicators. Now, think about that. Now, that was issued yesterday, but today, John Brennan, and you're looking at the C-SPAN image there, he came on with a completely different opinion. I don't know if the Obama and Clinton administration will go after him or what is the division, but I thought I had a time warp or a paradigm shift when I read this. And I'll read you what he said. But at the hearing, this is today, on CIA intelligence activities, CIA Director John Brennan said ISIS is attempting to infiltrate operatives into the West through refugee flows, smuggling routes, and legitimate methods of travel. Through refugee flows. This is amazing. Brennan goes on to say, he said, unfortunately, despite all of our progress against ISIS on the battlefield and in the financial realm, our efforts have not reduced the group's terrorism capability and global reach. He goes on and basically beats the drum of war and says that the group's foreign branches and global networks can help preserve the capacity for terrorism regardless of events in Iraq and Syria. But it continued, he said, since at least 2014, ISIS has been working to build an apparatus to direct and inspire attacks against its foreign enemies, resulting in hundreds of casualties. The most prominent examples are the attacks in Paris and Brussels, which we assess were directed by ISIL's leadership. We judge that ISIS is training and attempting to deploy for further attacks. ISIS has a large selection of Western fighters who could potentially serve as operatives for attacks in the West. The group is probably exploring a variety of means for infiltrating operatives into the West, including the refugee flows. So I guess the CIA and Donald Trump are on the exact same page. When the truth comes out, no one's going to listen to this report because they're going to flip it around on us. But it says they include the refugee flows, smuggling routes, and legitimate methods of travel. All are being noted on our southern borders. Furthermore, as we have seen in Orlando, San Bernardino, and elsewhere, ISIS is attempting to inspire attacks by sympathizers who have no direct links to the group. But wait a minute, the information is coming out the guy's been traveling overseas back and forth between these al-Qaeda operatives. It says last month, for example, a senior ISIS figure publicly urged the group's followers to conduct attacks in their home countries if they were unable to travel to Syria and Iraq. At the same time, ISIS is gradually cultivating the global network of branches into a more interconnected global organization. Yeah, it's pretty interconnected. And the information coming out in the last few days is pointing to emails between Hillary sent to the State Department about Obama controlling and protecting ISIS. Do you see where this beast is rising? The gates are broken. Now, back to the document itself. How can you help? Be prepared. Stay informed. We're staying informed. Thank you. It says, report suspicious activity to local law enforcement or public safety officials who are best positioned to respond and offer specific details or on terroristic indicators. Now, what's going to happen to that information? It could be dangerous for you to even report it with the situation that we see now. Information coming out from the Sheriff's Department in Orlando, guys. The SWAT teams may have been responsible for many deaths after blowing 3 holes in the wall, which they fired through, and the front door. May have been, remember, 20 deaths, then 50. Just think about that. But this reported article today also, a gun shop down in Florida refused Mateen's request to sell him body armor and ammunition. They said they were very suspicious because of the questions that he asked, and they refused to do service with him. But guys, who needs body armor? And they want to take guns away. But anyway, they reported him. Nothing happened. Here's a guy been on the FBI terrorist watch list 2 or 3 times. Now, gun shops, which have to be very licensed, are very, very critically observed. They report it. Here's a guy on your that they probably didn't know he was on the terrorist watch list, but here's a guy down here wanting to buy heavy ammunition and body armor. Nothing goes out. No one's warned. Here we go. Be prepared for increased security and plan ahead to anticipate delays and restricted, prohibited items. In populated places, be responsible for your personal safety. But don't carry a gun. Oh, no. No. Make a mental note of emergency exits and locations of the nearest security personnel. Keep cell phones in your pockets instead of bags or on tables so you don't lose them during an incident. Carry emergency contact details and any special needed information you at all times. The government will provide additional information about emerging threats as additional information is identified. Now, something about this date. I'm going to go back to the top. I'm going to point out something if you're not aware of it. That, again, the date says before the holidays, but it actually should say after the elections. Now, Homeland Security would be who would be involved in martial law if something went down. Guys, if you're not aware of the news that one of the leaders of the Black Lives Movement, who was instrumental in many of the protests, he was hacked along with Mark Zuckerberg, a bunch of people on Twitter last week, and so The hackers released information from his Twitter account. And it was in the private message section. It wasn't in the public domain, but they hacked it through his phone, changed information that they actually called in to the carrier of the phone, pretended to be him, got password information somehow, and hacked that account. Well, they released information that was in the private messages. Let's look at those. Now, first, the hack is public information. It's all over a lot of the news as far as NBC, ABC, CBS, maybe not on TV, but definitely on their websites. And all you have to do is type in DeRay McKesson hacks. They'll explain how this happened. Now, this is coming from Edward Snowden, also retweeted. It says, recent hack of DeRay and Russian activists by subverting SMS 2FA shows even our best systems are still too frail. Meant to fail, could be. But what they were talking about, him and a lady also involved with Black Lives Matter, we'll look at that. And this was put up. It says it's an interesting DM exchange between DeRay and Netta from last Monday that was pulled from his account. But Janetta Elzy, Netta, she says, have you spoken with Miss Lynch recently about the plan for the summer and fall leading up to the elections? This is on Monday. And of course, Miss Lynch is Attorney General of the Muslim White House. But he replied, we spoke 2 weeks ago, and they want us to start pushing how racist Trump is now instead of waiting so the others can start getting the word out. He continues, we have to make sure that we use our voices to keep people disrupted and disrupting Trump all summer and through the fall so martial law can be declared before the elections. Change. And this shows just a little more. Again, we have to make sure that we use our voices to keep people disrupting Trump all summer through the fall so martial law can be declared before the elections. Remember the speech yesterday? Trump said he would not allow a wall. He would not allow the Muslims to be checked at the border. He would not allow it. This goes on with a couple other different folks in this. It goes up to Wednesday. It says they will not be ready for the type of crowds we are bringing in, and they will blame Trump for it, especially if we shut it down. The GOP will have to replace him at that point, or we will continue the disruptions nationwide. This guy continues, I wanted to touch base with you about the summer of chaos. So far, we have 2,000 people being bussed in from different cities and another 6,000 to 8,000 expected to drive into Cleveland for the convention. Well, guys, Black Lives Matter has been infiltrated like every other system by Soros and Clinton. It appears something innocent or protective to the people and is infiltrated and turned to evil. So I want to say thank you to your 6,000 to 8,000 people that are going to come in and stop us from voting or having the choice that we voted for. Why can't you back off and let the votes take care of themselves? They're already rigged in your favor through the different appointed delegates. Think about it. But no, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. They're going to continue to do this. And they want to bring martial law. Why? It will keep the Muslim leader in the White House. It will continue to let the flow come in. And the Islamic beast in Revelation 17 that had the deadly wound is rising and is inside our gates. This is a heads up. Be safe.